Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm Angela Wilkinson, intuitive coach and founder of the Awakened Goddess Academy. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Hey, I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson, and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. Monty Pureheart woke up on his 42nd birthday enlightened, seeing himself in the world through radically different eyes. At first, he thought he was going crazy, and for the first 6 months had constant tears of joy and a perpetual smile that can still often be seen today. Spirit came to him and told him he'd be blocked for a period of 1 year from reading anything or having any deep discussions of a spiritual nature because he was going to be taught directly by Spirit. After a year of studying with the Master, he was awakened at a level of development that few reach while incarnate, and have been blessed with great gifts of awareness, healing gifts, and many other abilities which he uses for the benefit of others. Today, Monty and I talk about his journey to enlightenment, 5 words that embody his teachings, plus during the extended video interview, he offers guidance as to what's on the horizon for me and how to fully trust Spirit. But before I talk with Monty, would you like to continue the conversation after the show? Join us in the VIP lounge on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/The Awakened Goddess. And I can't wait to see you there. Now let's talk to Monty. Well, welcome, Monty, to the Awakened Goddess Show. I am super excited to have you joining me today because, we met actually several years ago. I don't know how many years ago, but we've been crossing paths for many years at the Portland Body, Mind, Spirit Expo. And this last time I actually sat down at your booth and we really connected. And you know, I think we were both crying at some point.
It's about time.
Yeah.
What took you so long?
So, yay, I get to have you on the show and share you with all the viewers and listeners. So, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here.
Awesome. So, okay, first off, let's address, before your 41st year, as you say, you describe yourself as a low-level, unenlightened male. So, what did that look like?
It looked like your typical jerk on the street. I wasn't a bad guy. I was just a totally clueless guy. And because of my childhood and certain aspects of that, I grew up with no friends, no socialization, and no idea of what was socially acceptable or not. Mm-hmm. So, and I managed to maintain a lot of that, thank you. But my wife of nearly 30 years has done a pretty good job of housebreaking me and making me socially acceptable in most cases.
Yeah, she takes you out every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what happened? What was the catalyst to your awakening? Because, I'll let you tell your own story. So.
Okay. Well, I grew up in a household where spirituality was known and spoken of and practiced to some degree. We used to sit around the card table when I was 10 or 12 years old, and my dad would do automatic writing, and he would channel this entity that would, by the way, do you love our clock?
Yes, it's lovely.
He would channel this entity that was extremely wise and would, if something was lost, they'd tell us where it was and so forth. And there's a belief system called Ekankar that you may or may not have heard of. And the man who introduced that to the world was a man by the name of Paul Twitchell. And Paul was a friend of Dad's. He used to come over to the house and he would stay for dinner, and he'd tell these incredible stories about how he'd been a merchant seaman and he'd broken his wrist 3 weeks out to sea. So he said, to quote him, I just moved my soul out of my lower arm so it didn't hurt. And then when we got to shore, then they fixed it. So anyway, this was kind of the parameters that I grew up in my household, but none of it really stuck. I was exposed to it, but that was it. I did know that I didn't want anything to do with organized religion. No, thank you.
Yeah.
When I was 25, I had the extremely good fortune of being killed in a car wreck.
Oh my goodness.
What
was that like?
Life changing.
To say the least.
But in the process of that experience, I traveled through the tunnel of light, or I got into the tunnel of light, and the moment that I got into the tunnel, I could see at the far end there was this portal. And the tunnel, of course, is far brighter than anything on our plane. The portal was blindingly bright, even in comparison to the tunnel. And I'm getting goosebumps. There was only one place I wanted to be, and that was on the other side of that portal. And instantly, I was stepping through that portal. Whew, this is still so emotional for me all these years later. I stepped through into a garden that I can only describe as being a garden beyond description. And in the instant that I stepped through, I knew so much. I knew that everything was made of light, and that light was love. All the flowers, all the birds, all the butterflies, all the soil itself, the air itself was all made of love. And when everything is made of light, there are no shadows. And in that instant, I realized that darkness in all of its forms only serves to give us the illusion of being separate from one another. And it's one of the teaching tools that we have. So that was real interesting. But fast forward to my 42nd birthday, actually. I was in the tail end of my second marriage. My business was failing. I was going bankrupt. And I was living by myself out in the woods out by Sun River. And I woke up that morning on my 42nd birthday, and I woke up enlightened. I have no idea why. Well, I do. But I woke up, and I only had one window in my bedroom. It was up high, and it was a little slit of a window. And I could look out of that, and I could see the sunshine, and I could see the ponderosa tree, and I could hear the birds, and I could see the squirrels chasing each other. And I sat there for probably half an hour, 45 minutes with tears of joy just streaming down my face and a smile that wouldn't go away for, well, it still hasn't. So then I had to figure out what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I began getting communication from spirit. And of course, I thought I was going crazy, which may or may well be the case, may or may not be the case, but it seems to serve me and others well, so I don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
But Spirit said, we are going to teach you for a period of 1 year. And during that 1 year, we're going to block you from doing any reading or any talking in depth about spirituality with anybody else. Let us teach you purely for that first year. And after that, you can follow anybody you want. You can read anything you want. You can go work in a porn store, whatever. It doesn't matter. And of course, after Spirit teaches you directly for a year, there's not an awful lot anybody else has to offer. And the education continues. Mm-hmm. But it was wonderful. So anyway, yeah, that's what happened to me on my 42nd birthday. Happy birthday to me.
Yeah, what a great gift. So now that you've had this time to process, just a few years. It was just a few years ago, right?
Yeah. Right. Let's see. That was my 42nd birthday, and I'll be 71 next month.
Yeah, excellent. So are you an Aries as well? I'm an Aries.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Woo! All right.
Aries on the cusp of Taurus. Nothing aggressive about me. Actually, I've found that, like with everything else, astrology is a suggestion. It's a valid suggestion, but it's a suggestion, and you don't have to live there, or you can choose what part of it you want to live in, as you've done and as I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So, looking back, what do you think was the catalyst? That's simple. Simple. It was time. Okay.
I have walked this road thousands of lifetimes. I am here to be of service. That's what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm.
There were certain lessons I had to relearn, and it took me 42 years to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And once I accomplished that, then I was free to be of service.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here today.
So that year that Spirit was teaching you directly,
Yeah.
what did that look like? What did it feel like? What was it? I mean,
It was, they don't have any textbooks,
no.
but every day, and I try to teach the same way that I was taught, is just if somebody chooses to walk alongside of me, and I chose to walk alongside of Spirit, if somebody chooses to walk alongside of me when they're trying to do something, I will offer suggestions that might make it easier, and it's up to them what they do, what they don't do. But Spirit's suggestions were always so right on, so it's just so exquisite, and their phraseology and the sense of humor and everything. It was a joy to be in this class. We talk about A Course in Miracles,
Mm-hmm.
I neglected to mention that on my awakening, I was told that I would be given a lot of healing gifts and other gifts, and yeah, broken bone in certain circumstances. I don't control any of this, of course. It's through me, but it also is of me.
Mm-hmm.
But broken bones heal instantly. Inoperable cancer disappears, and it's medically documented. And miracles are an everyday part of my life. And in fact, if I go 2 or 3 days without performing a miracle, I can't think, have I lost it? What's going on?
Come back.
And I'm sure you do the same sort of thing. It's not that I'm special. It's just that I'm very grateful, and I'm very vocal about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great because, yeah, I think when you're not resisting your gifts and being able to own them consciously, then you can help more people rather than doubt, kind of push them aside.
Yeah.
Or, whatever.
Well, there was plenty of doubt in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I really seriously thought I was going nuts. I was hearing voices. They were telling me to do things, but the things they told me to do worked. And they were all love-based. And they worked on people that didn't believe in them. And it's wonderful.
Yeah, so how did you go through that process of learning to trust? Because initially, a lot of people, they have this intuition inside, but then they ignore it because it's like, that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think I probably got the intense course. And for me, I designed and handmade jewelry most of my life as a way of making a living. And I had a store in Sun River, Oregon, and the pivotal moment for me, as far as trusting is concerned, there's 2 of them. I'll tell you the first one first. Imagine that. Anyway, I'd opened up my store. It was a Saturday morning in the summer, and of course the tourists were all over the place. And this young lady, probably about 30 years old, came in wearing roller skates and Daisy Dukes and a white T-shirt that was way too thin. You got the picture. And she walked in the door, and I looked at it, and I thought I was going to say, welcome to my humble establishment. And I opened my mouth, and I heard myself say, "Why are you so sad?"
Mm.
Where'd that come from? And she collapsed on the floor in tears.
Oh.
And I started saying, "I'm really sorry. I don't know where that came from." I heard myself say, "I see 2 husbands in your life. One's yours and one isn't."
Mm.
And for the next 45 minutes, nobody came in the store on a Saturday morning in the summertime at a resort.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Spirit had a little chat with her through me. And she walked out the door. She was happy. She knew what she had to do. And she was bright and bouncy and beautiful and all that. The moment she walked out the door, I said, "Spirit, here, now, we got to chat." I can't be doing this, This is not the way you greet a customer. And Spirit reminded me, is it not true that our souls know all possibilities and make the choices that serve us best?
Mm-hmm.
Her soul knew what was going to occur before she ever walked in the door. Your soul knew before you ever unlocked your door this morning. This was in divine order.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuck with me pretty well. And then years later, I was working up in Friday Harbor, Washington. And I had been there for about 3 or 4 days, and word was getting around. People were calling for appointments. And a woman called. She said, I'm 76 years old, and I have a medical issue. So she came, her appointment time came, and she walked in the door. And even though I had a pretty good idea, just pro forma, I said, what can I do for you? She says, I have bilateral inoperable lung cancer, and I was told you could fix it. I thought, no pressure here at all.
No.
And in doing what I do, a lot of times, I'm going to sidetrack for a second and then come back to this. A lot of times people will come to me with back issues. Everybody's got back issues. And I have learned part of Spirit's teaching is that we are all one being. So rather than me invading your space to feel what's happening in your body, I allow what's happening in your portion of my body to be manifested in my portion of my body to the point where I can be aware of it. Mm-hmm. So people come to me with back issues, and I put my hands on their back, or now I don't even need to do that anymore. And I will feel in my body what needs to be repaired in theirs or adjusted in theirs. And then I will make those adjustments. And there's no way to describe how that happens. It just happens.
Sure.
And it works on them. So I fix me to fix them. So this woman comes in, and I had just been bragging that morning how I trusted Spirit 1,000%. That there was nothing Spirit could ask me to do that I wouldn't do. Spirit says, take her cancer into your lungs. Whew, yeah, wow. You got it. And for just, it makes me tear up, just for a split second, there was rebellion. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I've already died 5 times. One I told you about was only the first one. I've already died 5 times. What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Same thing. Doesn't matter. So I allowed her cancer to manifest in me. And immediately it was like these clutching hands in my lungs. And I went internal and upstairs. And it took me about 45 seconds. And I can't describe what I did. All I did was I made it so that the cancer was no longer there. As though it had never happened, I guess is a better way of putting it. And believe me, I got every single cell because it was in here. Mm-hmm. And I came back to the here and the now, and I said, I'm supposed to tell you to take a deep breath. And she took a deep breath, and she began crying. She says, I have not been able to take a deep breath for months, and I've not been able to cry since they first told me I had cancer. So she left, and about 3 days later, I started my way home. About 3 days later, I got home. There was a message on my phone. She'd been to the doctor that morning, and they had done x-rays of her lungs, and they were totally clear. Mm. I've not kept touch with her. I don't know what the ultimate thing was, but I've had several cases where I've worked with cancer where it's just totally disappeared. So it's fun.
Yeah. And I can feel that for you that you take it very close to heart.
Oh, absolutely. If again, everything I tell you is what Spirit has taught me in one form or another. Mm-hmm. All beings are one, and that one being is the divinity. So that means that you are the divinity and I am the divinity, but we are not all of the divinity. But if we don't claim our divine status, we cannot act in a divine manner. Mm-hmm. That isn't what I started to tell you, but that's what I wound up telling you. Sorry about that. That happens okay. A lot. You get on this, you make one statement and it branches here and it branches here, and you follow this branch, and then you forget where anyway.
But that's the point. That's the point of the journey, is you think you're going to start out at an destination that you think that you're going to end up, and then Spirit has another idea for you. There's another more important
Spirit
message.
Is a better idea.
Yeah. And so let's talk about balancing spirit world, right?
Yeah.
And living through, or allowing Spirit to lead you.
Okay.
And then there's
you have a choice.
Well, but then there's the reality that I'll put that in quotes.
Yeah,
The reality that we think we're living in,
yeah,
that there's say competition, there's striving for power. I mean, there's all sorts of people are looking to achieve different things, and but there's this perception that we are separate. I think it
yeah.
comes back to that. So yeah, how do we step more into that divine flow and allowing and being led by spirit and really kind of, I kind of think of it as walking in a tunnel, dark tunnel with a little flashlight. That's something I've been feeling lately
Okay.
around a particular project. And it's like, how do you, when the ground feels unsteady and you have no clue where you're going, but you're following that inner guidance and but then there's the other part of you that's like, I don't know what the F I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me. I'm going to give you a two-part answer again.
Okay.
Okay, you're talking about you walking down the tunnel with your flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
When I was first awakened, I was my first vision ever. I saw this English greatsword. You know, the swords that are like 4 feet long, laying on the ground, and then it was turned up on edge, and I
Mm-hmm.
was reduced in size, and I was placed right past the hilt where the blade sharpens, and
Mm-hmm.
I was told that if I wanted to perform my task in this lifetime, I needed to walk that edge.
Wow. Ooh.
And yeah, and so for the first 2 or 3 days, I would revisit that vision over and over and over again to see how I was doing. And by about the third day, I realized I'd developed grooves in the bottom of my feet that made it a little easier. And as I got further and further down that broadsword, that razor sharp edge broadened and broadened and broadened and broadened. And finally, I realized that it had become a meadow, a giant meadow. And if I wanted to, I could turn right or left and I could walk over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
But by walking the straight and talk about the straight and narrow, by walking the straight and narrow single mindedly, I increased the scope of the straight and narrow by decreasing my desire to veer away from it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that was the first part. Second part, you're talking about how you learn to trust, and you just stepped right into one of my favorite teachings.
Good.
In that first year, Spirit would tell me to do weird things, like hover my hand over the blisters on my son's arm, uh, and take my hand away 30 seconds later without touching him, and his blisters were totally gone.
Mm.
Things like that. And I'm still wavering with, am I going crazy or is this real? And Spirit kept saying, trust and believe, trust and believe. Well, over the period of a year, that trust and believe expanded to a total of 5 words. And Spirit says, these provide the parameters for spiritual growth. And by the way, there's supposed to be, there's another teaching, I'm going to slip right in here. There is no such thing as spiritual growth. And we'll talk more about that later if you remember to remind me, because I've forgotten the rest of it right now, but I'm going to pretend I didn't.
That's
So
okay.
anyway, the trust and belief. So this became one of my core teachings, that these 5 words provide the parameters for spiritual growth. I'm still trying to think of the other one that's distracting me here. Okay, trust and believe is trust yourself, believe in Spirit. Believe in Spirit and trust yourself. Did I do that right? Anyway, you got the general idea. It works both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the foundation of your spiritual home. Trust and believe. Once you learn to trust and to believe, then you're ready for the walls. And the walls are allow and appropriate. If you trust and you believe, then whatever happens, however weird it seems, however unpleasant it may seem, that is in divine order.
Mm-hmm.
So we allow things. To me, when I do offer this teaching, I think of a nest about this big, made of soft, pink, clean ostrich plumes,
Mm.
and you hold the nest out, and you're not expecting anything to ever be put in it, but you know something will be. That's allowing. And whatever arrives in that nest in your life is appropriate within the eye or the mind and the heart of God, or it wouldn't be happening.
Mm-hmm.
So you have trust and believe as your foundation. Allow and appropriate are the walls of your structure.
Mm.
And the roof is love. And this is not love for or of, it's simply love. It's the concept love. It's the idea of the love you would have for a blue-green planet floating in space, or a new infant, or a field full of spring lambs. So these are trust, believe, allow, appropriate, and love. And I'd been offering these as teachings for about 7 years, and I was up in Seattle. A young man came into my booth, and I offered him the teachings, and Spirit says, give them to him as a mantra. Mm-hmm. And I'd never thought about it that way, but it makes a sentence. Mm-hmm. Trust, believe, allow appropriate love.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get little surprises like that and it's like those little surprises are what really affirms that you're on the right path.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And Spirit, sometimes they'll give me a saying, and everything is so succinct and so beautiful and so all-encompassing, and they'll give me a phrase, and it may be 3 or 4 or 5 days, but all of a sudden something comes up where that phrase is exactly the right thing to use. Mm-hmm. And it's such a joy when that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like you say, you live in just everyday miracles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, all you got to do is look at my face and you see the joy.
Oh, yeah.
Just from getting to be who I am.
Yes.
There's nothing better.
That's definitely... and I know that people that are watching this, they can feel that through the video, and when you're in person with you, you just radiate this joy
Shucks,
and
ma'am.
love. And
yeah. Well, I truly believe, and I've stated on many occasions, that the only reason that I appear to be different from others is my capacity for love. Mm-hmm. Because love does indeed conquer all. And this is why I can do things that the world thinks are impossible, because I love so much that nothing's impossible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. So let's get back to that spiritual development, or spiritual growth.
Okay. Okay. There is. Let's see. How did they say it? This is one of those succinct things, and right now I can't think of it. Well, I can give you something close to it, but I still haven't got there yet. Let's see. There is no. So
you said there was no such thing as
spiritual growth, right? And I can't remember the other half of what they call. So instead, I'm going to tell you. There is no journey. There is only an arrival. Welcome home. That's what I was told too. Let's see. There's no such thing as spiritual growth.
This is what I find. This is what I find is that, like, when I'm allowing energy source to just flow through me, that my ability to remember things, it's like I'm so in the moment that my memory is kind of
Well,
shot.
And obviously I'm not supposed to share that right this second, or it would be happening. So
no.
Yeah, so I'm not worried about it, but doggone it, my human mind is going,
That's okay.
Shut up.
That's okay. Okay, so I want to see if we can play and have you do some reading for me and see what comes up.
Oh boy.
I'll put myself on the hot seat. Yes. I put lots of blush on, so
I don't need to. I just blush readily all day long.
You're blushing for me.
Yeah. Well, as part of that is being the Santa Claus. I was born to be Santa Claus, and Santa Claus is all about love too. The button nose, the red cheeks, the beard.
Beautiful beard. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What areas would you like me to look at? What you want me to look at that tunnel that you're stumbling down?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
Let's see what I can find here. It'll take me just a second to tune in and. Well, first thing I see is that you're dragging some old fears along with you.
Dang
Uh,
it.
and I'm seeing you walking along the bottom of the cave with your flashlight, and this it's like a long, thick, heavy shadow. You're dragging along. Take a step, drag the fear. Take a step, drag the fear. Um,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to ask you to consider a very unique solution.
Oh, okay.
Cut loose the fear.
Yeah, that I would. I'm all for that.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Okay.
um, yeah, if you're okay, can I tell you another story as part of your answer?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
please. Yes.
In 1988, when I was first seeing the woman that's my wife now, um, we were both part of a spiritual group in Bend. She had been apart for a while, and I started going to it because I thought I was going crazy, and I figured if I was going crazy, these people could tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, somebody in the group was a tour guide or had a travel business, and they were also spiritual and so forth. They arranged for a 10-day trip to Peru.
Mm.
Sounds good to me. Of course, I was in the middle of a failing marriage and a failing business and, you know, had no money. Spirit says, don't worry about it. You're going. I said, okay, if I'm going, you're paying for it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
well,
Yeah. Only
and
fair.
about a week before, the Sun River Police Department had approached me. Somebody had stayed there for about a month and hadn't paid their bill and was trying to skip out. So they confiscated everything he had and were
Mm.
processing the charges and so forth. But among the things that he had was a magnificent collection of crystals.
Mm.
There was a single quartz crystal that was flawless, 3 pounds. And I said, I'll give you, what did I say? I'll give you $500 for this right now. They said, no, we can't do that. We have to run an auction.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit says, at the time that they told me I was going to Peru and you're paying for it, they said, yes, we're going to do it. And this is how we're going to do it. You're going to buy that crystal for $50 and you'll sell it for $1,500,
Mm-hmm.
which is exactly as much as the trip cost. So the police department set up this auction, and they had one of the bigger rooms there at Sun River, and had chairs for like 150 people, and they had catering, and they had armed guards,
Oh gosh.
and they announced they advertised it in the newspaper and on the radio and so forth. So I showed up. I had $500 in my hand, and even though Spirit had told me it was only going to be 50. And I showed up, and I sat, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and it was supposed to start at 10 o'clock, and it was like 10:45, and it still hadn't started, and only one other bidder had showed up.
Oh my God.
And they weren't interested in the crystals. What's the odds? So anyway, they said they talked amongst themselves and made a phone call and said, well, by law, we have to have the auction because it was advertised. And they said, okay, we'll start out with this. And it was a fitted case, aluminum case with 11 giant, big, wonderful crystals in it. And they said, we're going to start the bidding at $500. And I said, I'll bid $50 because that's what Spirit told me I could buy it for. And they said, but you offered $500 earlier. I said, that was earlier. This is now.
That's right.
$50. And they looked at each other and said, we have to sell it to you. So long story short, I took that crystal and put it in my jewelry store. And a guy came in, fell in love with it, laid out 15 $100 bills at 10 minutes to 5 on the last day that I could pay for the trip to Peru. The travel agent was right above me in the same mall. I locked my doors, ran up the stairs, laid out $1,500, said, I'm going to Peru.
All right. I love that.
Yeah, so that's that story. There's a lot more to it, but our time is limited. So
Yeah.
even though we're not.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, so why does Spirit wait until the 11th hour?
I think it's a matter of faith. the teacher is always silent during the exam.
Mm-hmm.
I told you this was going to happen, and this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
When I'll tell you the rest of the story. Uh, Before I left for Peru, I was given several visions and a couple of knowingnesses. And one of the visions was that it would be standing on ruins, looking over ruins at a blood red sun and a blood red sky. Later on at Machu Picchu, because our guide recognized that I was a curandero and had me fix his wife's breast cancer for her, he arranged with the guards at Machu Picchu that we could get in early, that I could stand barefoot on the hitching post of the sun at the Temple of the Sun at
Wow.
Machu Picchu at sunrise.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and there was my blood red. And the Amazon had been on fire for 3 weeks. So, it's blood red sun and a blood red sky, standing on the hitching post of the sun, looking over the walls of the ruins.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
That's
and there were
amazing.
lots of other things. Healing his wife, that was one of the things that I was given as a knowingness, that I would do a healing that would be literally bringing somebody back from the dead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
next question.
Yeah. So, okay, going back to this fear, I would love to let go of this bag of fear that I'm dragging around. And you say, just do it. And I believe that I can. And then the other part is like, well, but how?
But
'Cause
the fear appears to be a long-term fear of failure and not being good enough,
mm-hmm. Yep.
like so many people carry.
Yeah.
And are you the person that learned those fears anymore?
Ask me in a different way.
Okay. Are you today the person that learned to fear in that way?
No.
Okay.
Definitely
Then why are you still carrying her baggage?
I don't know.
Because it's never dawned on you. I was given a beautiful meditation that I had somebody that had similar issues, and I was given a beautiful meditation and a visualization to help her free herself, and perhaps it'll help you and some of the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Picture yourself going into a room, very clean room, soft shell pink walls, but everywhere you look is baggage,
Mm-hmm.
boxes and cartons and cases and so forth. And right in the middle of the room is a little black hole. And you pick a little hat box and you sit on that little hat box. And one at a time with your mind, you move that stuff and it just gets sucked into that black hole until it's only you and these shell pink walls and the hat box you're sitting on. The hat box that you're sitting on is a gift from the universe to you. Get off the hat box, open the lid, and see what you've got.
Hmm.
When this lady did it, she opened it up, and there was the universe.
Nice. Very cool.
I don't know if you can feel it or not, but I felt you shift.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I could walk through that as
I know, you're very visual.
yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't have any way to know that, but
Yeah. So, anything else that's coming up for me that you're just picking up on?
okay, let me look here. It's something that's just like a month and a half out, maybe 2 months out, that you're really excited about, something you're looking forward to, it feels like. Um, and
Am I
that's,
aware of what it is?
I don't know. That's your problem. Let's just say there's something very, very good on your near horizon.
Excellent. I
Um,
like that. Yeah,
yeah.
there's definitely some things I have in the works that are really exciting. I'm
Now,
really
this
excited
this
about.
may be unexpected.
Good. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fun, unexpected
Like
things.
like winning the cosmic lottery.
Great. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There is no such thing as growth. There is only an arrival. Welcome home. That's
Okay.
okay.
See, there it is.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. I see now. I forgot my question. I was going to ask you about something, and then, oh, w- what is getting in the way of me moving back to New York?
You're not supposed to be there.
I am.
No, that's your opinion. What do you know? Yeah, it's a good place not to be in the near future. I can't tell you why. I don't know why, but my sense is that it's a very good place not to be.
Hmm. Okay.
So and you are a valued commodity. So they're going to keep you over here on the West Coast.
Hmm. Okay. Anything in the love category?
You know, that may be what the surprise is.
Maybe.
Yeah, I had that feeling, but I was a little unsure of your current status, and I didn't want to throw anything out there that, you know. But yeah, my sense is it may be a pleasant surprise for the heart.
Cool. All right.
And you're thinking it's about darn time.
Uh, I love what I do so much that
Yeah,
is like fulfilling to me.
yeah, I know. But
And
it's always nice to have somebody to cuddle up next to and
that's true.
share your warmth on a lot of levels
Yeah.
and to to love and be loved
Mhm.
is a
Mhm.
wonderful thing.
Yeah. I agree.
You know,
I
one of my
agree.
favorite songs is "Nature Boy," as sung by Nat King Cole,
You'd have to
and
sing it for me because I don't know that.
that would be a bad mistake. But as it says, there was a man, a very strange and gentle man, and uh, though he wandered very far over land and sea, something about the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return.
Mm.
And that is not just talking about physical love. It's what I try to do. You know,
Mhm.
I pour out love into the world, and for somebody that grew up without even a single friend, I consider myself one of the wealthiest men in the world because so many people love me, including me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not always happy with me, but I do always love me.
Yeah. So that brings up a great question that I have. Um, so we can live through love, and for you, this is, with your enlightenment and your awakening, you were able to really fully come from a place of love. So, where does judgment, like, how do we let go of judgment? Because, that's a big part of being human.
It is, and I have to confess that there are times that I'm very judgmental, even though I claim to be enlightened and feel like I truly am enlightened. It does not mean that I'm flawless. It
Mm-hmm.
only means that I've learned to see the world in a different way, and the world has learned to see me in a different way.
Yeah.
There's enlightenment is like the gate to a new garden, and you can spend a lifetime or many lifetimes exploring that new garden and getting to know it well. So, um, judgment is real tough. I try to be very careful to judge by actions and statements,
Mm-hmm.
and not by personalities. And I'm making. I hate to even use the term, but it's true. I'm making judgments based on how you manifest in the world, not who
Mm-hmm.
you are,
Mm-hmm.
because I know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And even Trump followers, they're somewhere in there. There's a spark of good. you know,
Yeah.
and it's it, I just try to remember to be love in every moment,
Mm-hmm.
and even if I'm upset or angry about something, I have to remember to be love. Anger is the tool of the victim,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a choice in every moment, in every experience, to be either a victim or a student. And the only difference between the two is attitude. The victim says, "Oh, why is this happening to me?" And
Yeah.
the student says, "Oh, why is this happening to me?" That's the only difference. But it makes a huge difference in how you perceive the world and how the world seems to treat you.
Mm-hmm.
If you recognize that everything is in divine order, whether you like it or not, whether you understand it or not, that it's happening for you, not to you, that makes a huge difference. This, I don't know if you see this or not.
Mm-hmm.
This is my daughter that died in my arms 6 years ago with me telling her, "It's okay, honey, you don't have to take another breath." As a father, that was one of the roughest things I've ever done in my life.
Mm-hmm.
As a man of spirit, it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had. She and I still talk almost every day. So,
Yeah.
and she comes to me. She either comes as a high angelic being or as my daughter. And if it's a high angelic being, she says, "Have you considered possibly doing it this way?" And if she comes to me as my daughter, it's Dad.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. So to wrap up, if there were a practical tip that you wanted to share, what would that be?
To be love in every word, in every thought, in every deed, in every prayer. That's it. That's the bottom line.
Be
If
love.
I was to offer everything that I have to teach, I could do it in 4 words.
Mm-hmm.
Be love, limit less.
Wonderful. I
Thank you.
love that.
I do too.
Yeah. Cool. So you have a special gift for the viewers. What is
Yes.
that?
I don't remember. What did I tell you?
It's a
Is
meditation.
this a test?
Yeah, this is all a test, just a test. It's a meditation that you
Yes.
you
Yes.
sent.
Right.
So
And you have the link for that, so I'm hoping that you will put that on my
yes, I will put that on the show page, and
right.
then it'll be a magical delight what it is
Right.
because
There's a total of 7 meditations I've posted online. All of them were received from Spirit. There's one called grounding and centering, and
Mm,
most people go through life without ever being really grounded. And this technique is given to me by Spirit is very effective for helping people ground themselves and center themselves. And then once you get to the point where you've used this meditation long enough that you can do it without listening to my voice, then you're ready for some of the other 6. And the titles will tell you which ones. There's Mountains and Masters and Golden Pond, and they'll just tell you which ones that you need. But
cool,
you may find it very, very effective.
awesome, yeah. And then you have a card deck. So why don't you
Well,
tell us about
actually,
that?
I have a book and a
Yes.
card deck.
Okay.
The book is called A Book of Answers, and you can go to www.i4c4u.com. That's letter I, number 4, letter C, number 4, letter U.com. And you can find out a little bit more about me, but you can also get free mini readings out of the book.
Mm.
And you'll
Mm-hmm.
always get the one you need. And there's a
Yes.
radio button on the left there. You just click on that for free mini readings, and it'll pop up a reading for you.
Oh, cool, cool.
And then when you finally get tired of doing that, you can just order the book.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it's always fun to have like a hard copy and you get to like pick
Yeah,
the cards and yeah, I love my card decks.
yeah.
Um, and then so do you do readings that
I
people can schedule with you?
absolutely. I do. I'm kind of unique in that I do everything by responsible donation. I don't put a price tag on anything
Mm.
except the book. But uh,
Yeah.
uh, I'm not here for the money. I mean, I'm like everybody else. I have bills to pay, and I'm certainly
Hmm.
not wealthy in dollars. But I'm here to help people. I'm here to be love. And so if somebody wants to contact me through the website, there's email contact there.
Hmm.
I'm more than happy to help anybody that needs it. And I just ask that you respect the fact that I too have bills to pay, but I don't ever want dollars to come between myself and somebody that I can help.
Yeah. Excellent. How cool is that? That is, yeah, that's awesome.
Just the way I do it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I had no clue where we were going to go, where we're going to end up, and it was just magical from start to finish. So,
That's a good description of life, isn't it?
yeah, it is actually. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
awesome. Well,
I'm
thank you.
delighted and I'm honored and thank you. I enjoyed this thoroughly.
Awesome. And now for you, my gorgeous goddess. Was there something from the show that resonated with you? If so, I'd love to hear about it. Head on over to today's show page at theawakenedgoddess.com and leave me a comment. Did you enjoy this episode? If so, subscribe to the show on iTunes and please share it with all of your friends. And if you want even more incredible resources, join the Awakened Goddess community to get bonus content from the show. And until next time, goodbye everyone! Okay, so let's just get started and see where we go, right?
Okay. Hot zaggledy snorp.
All right. Well, welcome, Manny, to the Awakened Goddess Show. I got to start over.
Gotcha.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. I hope you enjoyed today's guest and got something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at theawakenedgoddess.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.